Well, thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. Thanks again for your leadership on this. We've heard a lot of different assertions about cause and effect. I think all of them play a part in where we find ourselves today. Ms. Dowsett, you have elaborated as to exactly what your mill is experiencing. But let me dig into a little bit of what Mr. Thomas talked about. And that is, we've talked about stumpage, the timber being cut, the logs available, the mills processing those logs. One thing that I think is incredibly important is you can do all of that. You can have the supply pipeline filled there. But if you can't get that timber to market, there are interruptions on the trucking side, then that also affects pricing. And to me, as I talk to folks across my district, which has a number of sawmills, in fact, some sawmills that saw hardwood that are now going to saw pine because it's better now to saw pine. But one of the things that they talk about is being able to get transportation. I have a number of trucking companies in my district too that are also dealing with the same issue. Their challenge is getting truck drivers. And there, as you know, there are two different elements of truck driving. There's what's called over the road, which means it's interstate, and then intrastate, being able to transport within a state. And even on both of those accounts, there are problems in getting truck drivers to come back to work. And you would think that wouldn't be the case, especially since these truck drivers are paid a significant amount of money. And one of the other things that I hear from folks on the trucking side is just being able to get new folks into the trucking sector because the demand is increasing, which is a good thing. I have a billing called the Drive Safe Act that would now lower the minimum age requirement for truck drivers from 21 to 18 in order to travel interstate. Now they can travel intrastate. Let me give you an example. If we have a company in Fredericksburg, Virginia, or if we have a mill in the northern neck of Virginia, they need to get lumber to market. They can take that truck with an 18-year-old, and they can drive that truck 5 hours out to Bristol, Virginia. For that matter, 6 hours. Although actually Bristol, Virginia is closer to 8 hours. So they drive it out to Southwest Virginia. That 18-year-old can drive that truck. Yeah, they can go from Fredericksburg to northern neck to Maryland, which is an hour or less. And that 18-year-old cannot drive that truck, which is ridiculous to me. And to me, we ought to be addressing the standards on which we allow drivers to come in. The challenge is once we have these individuals graduate from high school at 18 years old, and you tell them, wait 2 years in order for you to get your CDL in order to be able to drive over the road, they're not doing that. They're moving on to some other industry. So give me your perspective on how the issuance of CDLs to those between 18 and 21 has affected what you see as the pipeline of trucking availability to the trucking companies. Or if you have your own company, or if you have your own subsidiary or own trucking, you may experience that directly. But give me your perspective on that.
Yes, I mean, anything that adds truckers to the equation, we've seen so many eliminate out of working over the last few years. So anything that brings the younger truckers in, our truckers are, we do more local hauling, so it's a little easier to hire those truckers, but that over the road, we do need to start cultivating those new younger people into that profession if we're going to maintain our supply chain.
Mr. Thomas, you had mentioned that in closing on the last statement. Would you like to add anything to that, your observations about trucking as a part of this issue?
No, I think I said it. It's trucking is a real focus, but labor is a general issue throughout the South. I'll add something to it. We've got in the South, we've got a huge long-term problem, and that's the quality of our education. It's hard for mills to locate in the South because our educational system does not produce folks that are qualified to work in mills. I hear over and over about mills looking at locations and not being able to go there because they don't have education. So I know that in a short-term solution, but I think we need to be thinking long-term too. We need some emphasis on education in the South. But short-term, everybody needs labor, and that even includes my company that does forest management. We're labor constrained ourselves. it's hard for us to grow because of the inability to hire people.
I agree. I think our schools need to be emphasizing equally career and technical education as you do college track diplomas. If they did that, then we would have the workforce that we need. Is that Mr. Chairman?